Week 7, day 2. Hopefully you took your mini assessment yesterday or Friday and you did well on that. And we're moving on today to frequency tables and histograms. Now this is another way to display data. We've talked about box plots, we've talked about line plots, different ways to display data. Frequency tables are what you use to make histograms. So we're going to go through that now. So a frequency table, you're going to need, by the way, you're going to need this packet. You want to kind of follow along with me. We're going to do part of this together, and then you're going to do part of it on your own. So a frequency table shows how often an item number or range of numbers occurs. So frequency just means how many times. Okay, so when using a range of numbers, the data is separated into equal sized groups, and this is really important, equal sized groups or intervals. You cannot have a group that goes from 1 to 5 and then a group that goes from 6 to 30. They would have to be equal in size. Okay, and then you use the frequency table to actually make a histogram. So let's look at how we make frequency tables first, because we're going to have to do that in order to make the histogram. So we've got Kaylee here, and she asked her classmates about their favorite types of music. So these are the results here. They're shown in the chart provided. We want to make a frequency table of that data, and then use that frequency table to answer some questions. So to make a frequency table, we've got our table here. We've labeled our columns tally, frequency, and cumulative frequency. And then we're going to go ahead and complete the table. So every time we see an answer here, each one of these letters represents an answer, we're going to tally it over here. So this P stands for rap. So we put a tally there. Notice I'm going to cross it off as I put it in my tally sheet because we want to make sure we don't get off. Okay, so R here stands for rock. F is top 40, P is another rap, F is another top 40, another top 40, R is rock, F, P, F. Now notice I'm going to cross through here. I have 5. When I have 4, I put the 5th one sideways like that. That's going to make it easier for me to tally that when to count it up when we're done. Okay, C, F, C, P. Again, we have 5. C, country. J is jazz. R, rock. R is rock. F is another top 40. J is jazz. R is rock, 2 more P's, and an F, which is top 40. Okay, so now we have our tallies. So I'm going to get rid of this one because I just wanted to kind of start from scratch here. So now we're going to go through and show the frequency. Well, 5 people said that rock was their favorite, okay? 2 people said that jazz was their favorite. So this cumulative frequency is we started with 5 and we added 2 more. That's how we got 7. Okay, 3 people said country was their favorite. So we know how we have 7 plus 3 more is 10. All right, 5, 6, 7, 8 said top 40 was their favorite. So we had 10 plus 8 more. And 5, 6, 7 said rap was their favorite. So we had 18 plus the 7 more gave us 25. Okay, so now we have our intervals and we have our data kind of displayed. So what was the most popular type of music? Well, we can look right here and see very clearly that top 40 was the most popular. And what was the least popular? Only 2 people said jazz. Okay, how many students were polled? Well, this is easy because we have our cumulative frequency here. We were adding it as we went. There were 25 total students polled. We don't always put this column here. If you didn't have it, it would be very easy to look at the frequencies here and just add these numbers up to get 25. Okay, move on to the next page now. So we have now using intervals of numbers. So we've got winning scores. The winning Super Bowl scores from 1983 to 2002 are listed in the table. Make a frequency table of this data. So we've got our table here. So we're going to have our tally here, our frequency here, and our cumulative frequency here. Okay, so we're going to go through and we're going to tally each of these. So 20 would go here, between 20 to 28. Notice that my intervals are evenly sized. This goes from 20 to 8. It considers the scores 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, and 28. 8 total scores are represented here. Here, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37. Again, the same number. The intervals are the same. Okay, so we have 34 here. That's going to go here. 23 here. 34 here. 31, 35, 27, 49, 30. So again, we're going to put that sideways hash to show that that's 5. 52, that was a high score. 37, 20, 55, 20, 42, right here, 39, it's going to go here, 46 is here, 38 is here, 38 is here, and 27 is here. Okay, so we have 5 plus 1 more, we've got 6 here, we've got 5 plus 1 more, 6 here, 5 here, and 3 here. Our cumulative frequency, we started with 6. We added 6 more to it, giving us 12. We added 5 more to that, giving us 17. And we added 3 more to that, giving us 20. Okay? All right, so now we've got another frequency table here. We've got some temperatures. It shows the record high temperatures reported by each state of the United States. How many states have reported a temperature above 111 degrees? So we have to look here. This interval right here, 106 to 111. So we're kind of drawing a line right here. How many states reported temperatures above 111? So it's anything 112 or above. So we had here 5, 10, 15, 16, plus the 14, plus 2 more, plus 1 more. So that's 16, 14, 2, and 1, 10, 11, 12, 13. So 33 total states reported a temperature that was above 111 degrees. So that would answer that question. Okay, so now we have a little bit more information here. So a histogram we're going to make from our frequency table. So it's a special kind of bar graph that uses bars to represent the frequency of numerical data that have been organized into intervals or groups. Okay, there are 2 main differences between a bar graph and a histogram. The first is the appearance. The histograms, the bars are all touching. Not true for bar graphs, okay, because the data is grouped. And the x-axis for histograms, the numbers are in intervals. They're in groups, ranges. So not the same for bar graphs, okay? All right, so now how to make a histogram. So we want to use the data from example number 2 here. So this was our Super Bowl data here. We're going to go back to this. And we want to create the histogram. So the first step is to draw and label your axes. Okay, so this is always going to be our frequency. And in this case, that's our y-axis. Our x-axis is going to be the winning scores. okay? Because this was our Super Bowl wins. That was our topic, okay? So we have our intervals here, 20 to 28, 29 to 37, 38 to 46, and 47 to 55. So we're going to fill those in here. So the first one was 20 to 28. The second one was 29 to 37. Remember, our intervals are going to be the same size, 38 to 46 and 47 to 55. So I just got those intervals from here. These are the same intervals I had in my frequency table. Okay, now I look at my frequency and I'm going to draw a bar over here to represent that frequency. So I'm going to start, this would be 0. Then let's count by 2s, 4, 6, 8. We know their numbers in between, even though we don't have them written. So our first interval, 20 to 28, had a frequency of 6. There were 6 times that the score was between 20 and 28. So we're going to draw this bar so that it goes right here to 6. Okay, showing there were 6 times that the score was between 20 and 28 points. All right, our next interval is 29 to 37. Again, this occurred 6 times. So 29 to 37, 6 times. I'm going to draw that bar right there. Okay, our next interval is 38 to 46. This occurred 5 times. So our bar here should not go all the way up to the 6. It's only going to go here to the 5. Okay, and the last category was the 47 to 55 points. That didn't happen very often. You wouldn't expect it to. And that frequency was 3 times. So this bar is only going to go up to 3. Okay. So with a histogram, we don't actually know, if all we see is the histogram, we don't actually know how many times a team scored, maybe, for example, 48 points. All we know is that 5 times a team scored between 47 and 55. Now, if we have our original data, we would know that. But with a histogram only, we would not know that because it's clustering or grouping this data. Okay, now we're going to use the data from example 3, which was the temperatures, right here to make another histogram. So we're going to label our axes. So again, this is always frequency. And this is about temperatures, and they were hot temperatures. So let's name it hot states, because we were talking about temperatures that were over 100. And here we've got our high temps. Okay, so we had our intervals were 100 to 105, 106 to 111, 112 to 117, 118 to 123, 124 to 129, and 130 to 135. Notice that each of these was 6 numbers, okay? And we had between 100 and 105, that temperature occurred 5 times. So we need to put our numbers here, and let's do 3, 6, 9, 12. Let's count by 3s, 15. And the reason I'm doing that is I want to make sure that I can get all my temperatures. All my frequencies in there. My highest frequency was 16. So I want to make sure that my bar graph will go up to 16 because I am going to have a bar that's that tall. Okay, so our first interval was 100 to 105. That occurred 5 times. So 100 to 105 occurred 5 times. So that's going to be right here. Okay, our next interval was 106 to 111. So 106 to 111. And that range of temperatures, a temperature anywhere from 106 to 111 occurred 12 times. So we're going to come up here to 12 and make that bar right there. Notice again, here we were just given the frequency table and we're making the histogram from it, but do we know from this data how many times a state reported a high temperature of, say, 110? We do not. It's possible that none of these were 110. It's also possible that all of them were 110. All we know is that 12 times a state reported a high temperature that was between 106 and 111. Okay, so that was 12 times. So the next interval is 112 to 117. We're getting into some hot temperatures. And that occurred 16 times. That's a lot of times for a temperature, high temperature to be that high. So we're going to show our bar graph here. Okay, our next interval is 118 to 123, and that occurred 14 times. So 118 to 123, and that was 14 times. Okay, our next interval was 124 to 129, and that occurred twice. And our last interval was 130 to 135. Oh my gosh, I would not want to be somewhere where the high temperature was between 130 and 135 degrees. Thank goodness that only happened once. A little tiny bar here at 1. Okay, so now we see our histogram here that shows very clearly that this was kind of the most that occurred between 112 and 117. Histograms are useful for when you have a lot of data, or like maybe, for example, when I'm doing grades. When I put grades on your report card, and 90, an average of 90 shows up as an A on your report card. So does an average of 99. So we could cluster all those together to say, I had 15 people that made an A in the class. It could be that some of those people ended up with an average of 90 and some ended up with an average of 95 or an average of 96. But at the end of the day, they all ended up with an A. All right, so your assignment for today is to go through and do the practice problems here and the making histograms show the skill. So you're going to do both of those today. And when you come back tomorrow, we will check your answers to that.